Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Spotlight Games podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Schweigert, and I'm joined by my co-host, Kamen Patrick. How are you, sir?
That's a great question, Patrick. How am I? I am
Tell us.
I'm recovering from the throes of bronchitis.
Ooh.
So I want to go ahead and apologize to all the listeners. This about my new voice. It sounds fantastic. I sound like Elizabeth Holmes, or I sound like three children in a trench coat trying to deepen their voice to get an R-rated movie ticket.
Sure.
For the people who are watching us via YouTube, I am currently in my bedroom. No particular reason. I just decided to switch it up today, so
Hey.
I'm in here now.
I love it.
Well,
I'm curious if I want to go down a little hypothetical with you. So you're three children in a trench coat buying a ticket to an R-rated movie. What R-rated movie are you buying a ticket to?
Con Air.
It's a little hint as to what's to come, I think. Is that an R-rated movie?
Yeah, Con Air is definitely R-rated, right?
Is it? Maybe.
I mean, it's it's one of those movies that should be R-rated, if anything, just to keep people out from watching it who are too young, because it is a sensual film.
I mean,
according to IMDb, Con Air is indeed rated R.
Does it say
R
why?
Yes, strong violence, language, and Nicolas Cage without his shirt on.
Wow, I always forget. I always forget that that's one of the guiding factors of whether or not a movie is rated R or not.
It's true. It is.
It sure is. It's maybe the truest thing you've heard on today's show so far.
It's crazy to me too, because a lot of films that are R-rated actually include that as Nicolas Cage without his shirt on, and Nicolas Cage isn't even in the film.
Sure,
they just have to include that as kind of
Titanic.
a preemptive in case he does show up, in case someone decides to slip in a little Nick Cage without his shirt on via like Fight Club style.
Another 1997 flick, Titanic. That's why it's rated R, is because there's a shirtless Nicolas Cage. It's easy to miss.
Titanic is actually PG-13.
Is it really?
It really is. Yeah.
It has a titty and it's PG-13. You can have a titty in PG-13.
Yeah.
Are we certain?
I'm 100% sure on this
movie rating.
Yeah.
PG-13.
It definitely is. Yeah.
Nudity, sensuality, and brief language.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that you can have nudity in a PG-13 movie.
Cinema.
I think it's. I mean,
the Wild Wild West in the 90s.
I guess so. Wow.
Now we're all just terrified of everything, and soon we're gonna have like Spider-Man Goes Ways Homes. Is Spider-Man 8 Goes Ways Homes is gonna be rated R because Tom Holland sneezes or something. That's
Goes Ways Homes. Is that what you just named it?
Goes Ways Homes. Yep.
Goes Ways Homes.
Yep. And when Spider-Man 8 comes out and that's the title, you can thank me.
I am going to thank you. If you hear my furious typing, I apologize. I'm texting my wife about dinner right now. And I'm sure the clicks are coming through, but we're in a code red over here on at the Patty household about dinner. Okay. Why don't we do some quick housekeeping before we go into the show proper? But I will say before we go into housekeeping, I'm excited about the show we have for you. We're going to be doing a little special episode. This is an officially numbered episode of the Spotlight Games podcast. This will be episode number 13. It will be, and it is. We're going to be doing what's going to be forever known as the Golden Beefies, a yearly award show that we're going to be doing at the Spotlight Games podcast. But before we do that, Kamen, why don't we do some quick and some sweet housekeeping. So we'd love it if you'd go and subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/not a URL yet, because we don't have 100 subscribers. So get your booty over there, subscribe so we can make a custom URL so that we can make it youtube.com/Conair is an R-rated movie. We would love it if you do that. Spot Games Pod on Twitter, Spotlight Games Podcast on Instagram. You can be on the show, mail@spotlightgames.net with a question, a comment, or a concern. And I think the only other piece of housekeeping is I think you're beautiful. I think you are loved by us. And that's it. Is there anything else I'm missing? I was doing that to try
Yes,
and think of anything else.
actually, you did. If you are listening to us on Spotify, you can now rate
Haha.
the show. So just go there underneath the little thing that shows you who we are. There's going to be a little button with little stars. It'll
Mm,
say no rating because you haven't rated it yet. But once you hit rating, hopefully you hit 5 stars. It'll say 5 stars. So
I sure
if you
hope
haven't
so.
done it, it'll help us out tremendously.
I
So
sure
please
hope
do
so.
that as well.
Thank you, Cayman, for keeping me honest as always.
Yeah.
Um, before we jump into the most coveted awards of the year, the Golden Beefies, I want to talk about what we're playing because that's how we start every episode of the Spotlight Games podcast, every numbered episode at least. Cayman, last time I spoke to you on air, Con Air, was before Christmas. What
Mhm.
have you been playing since that fateful day when we recorded? What have you been playing since then?
Yeah. So I actually jumped back into Outriders for a little bit.
Nice.
It's weird. I really enjoy Outriders. I enjoyed it a lot when I played it the first time, and then getting back into it now is really easy to pick back up.
Uh huh.
Um, I don't know. It just this time around, I don't think it's grabbed me and pulled me back
Mm,
in. It also could be the fact that I've just been really, really fucking sick.
sure.
And that's just me being like, eh. I have, however, had the ability to try out the new Oculus Quest 2. My
Ooh.
fiance's parents are in town. He has the new Oculus, and so I was able to play that. A couple of thoughts on it.
Yeah, please.
We tried out the screen share mode. So basically, when you're playing the Oculus in normal mode, everything comes to the headset. So the only person that sees anything is the person with the headset on. With screen share mode, excuse me, you can actually project it onto the screen via screencast onto your TV, and so everyone in the room can watch what you're doing. There's a couple things that I think are interesting, but I also think really need to get fixed with the screencast or the screen share. When you cast to the screen, it can be pretty spotty. Uh, Mostly it's because the screen drops in pixels from anywhere from 1080p all the way down to 240p and maybe even below that. So typically, the faster a movement takes place on screen, the frame rate drops and the pixels drop to a point that is like almost unseeable. It'll happen every once in a while, but it is something that like I think will be fixed with future iterations. The other thing I've noticed too is graphically both on the screen and when you have the headset on. Typically, the graphics they look to be about a PlayStation 2 to Xbox, with some games being a little bit higher up there, being like base, like starting level PS3, Xbox 360 years. Um, I will say that there are some experiences that you can play where it's more like you're watching a movie. So I did a couple like roller coasters just to see if I would get motion sickness, which I did when I was standing. Apparently, standing while trying to be on a roller coaster is a horrible way to live. I do not recommend it. I was like spinning around and like falling forward and backward, and it was very jarring. However, when sitting down, that all went away. It was a really cool experience. Played a couple of games. I did this like World War II fighter simulator.
Uh huh.
That was pretty interesting. I think the hardest part, and this is the what like I said, one downside. I have been sick, so I haven't had a lot of hands on with it. I will for next episode have uh, way more talk time about this and more to
Okay.
come through, because I'll be able to play some more. I've been kind of laid out.
Sure.
Um, but it's interesting because like it's trying to learn brand new controls and not
Hmm.
like a game where it's like, okay, well, I just started this new game up. It's going to take me a few hours to figure out how to really do everything. But you already know just how to use the controller itself, right?
Yeah.
So regardless if you're playing on PlayStation or Nintendo Switch or Xbox, like the controls all are similar enough that you can jump from game to game without being like, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Right.
With the Oculus, because it's like it almost feels a little bit like the Nintendo Wii where you have like the nunchucks.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it works is kind of like these circular bars that your hands kind of go up to. They have like buttons. on like handles. Trying to learn how to use those has been incredibly difficult for me. It's like trying to teach myself how to ride a bike for the first time again.
Wow.
So I think with just some more time and some more practice, I'll be able to figure it
Sure.
out and kind of work through it a lot more. So I'm hoping I'll have, like I said, I'll have more in-depth thoughts next week. But
Cool.
for now, I think it's a really interesting concept. I think it's a really cool way to do VR. It was actually my first VR experience, so this is
Yeah.
like a whole new thing for me.
What was the very first thing you played on it?
The World War II shooter. Like it's
Got it.
like
Okay.
it's not a shooter. It's like you're in biplanes, and so like you've got like one controller's handling like if accelerating up or down, and the other is kind of using is to like speed up, slow down, and like
Cool.
lock on mechanics.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting, really cool way. And after we were done, Sydney was like, "Yeah, I definitely think this is worth $300. Like I think
Sure.
it's worth." So I'm looking forward to getting into. I know Super Hot is one that I've got up next,
Yeah.
and Beat Saber, which was recommended to me by you, Patrick. So we've got those already downloaded, ready to go.
Nice.
So I'm very excited to try those out. So like I said, next week I'll have more thoughts on that. But just initial thoughts, I think
Yeah.
VR is incredibly cool. I think there might be some stumbling blocks just from what I've seen that are going to be improved in the next several years. I don't know if technology has caught up yet, but I think we'll get there.
Yeah. Sorry, I just yawned. I cannot wait for you to try Super Hot and Beat Saber because those are two really, really cool VR experiences. Super Hot especially is really cool. I'm so surprised though to hear that with Oculus, some of those games look like PS2 games because with the PS VR, which is the one I have, which I've not used in a while because I lost the dongle for it, but it's been found by buying a new one. Some like I wonder if it's just like the specific games that were made for it, and like I'm wondering if the Oculus Quest 2 or just Oculus 2, or is it the same thing?
It's the Quest 2.
Quest 2. So the Quest 2 is the one that it doesn't require a computer, right?
You're right. Yes.
Right.
This is completely freestanding.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why. Because like with some of the games with PSVR, definitely their graphics are not great, but PS2, like that's surprising to me that some of them looked that bad.
I think, and I genuinely think the reason that it probably is that way is just because this is a freestanding item, right? Like this is not connected to like with the PSVR, it is connected directly into your PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. So there is some computing power that's coming from that and pulled in. So I do think that that's probably why. But with something like the Steam Deck coming up that looks like it's going to be hitting like native 1080p.
Yeah.
And I think and I also think, games themselves are going to get better as well.
Right.
Part of me thinks that potentially in the Quest 3, or if they release one that is connected back into a PC, I think that we'll get there. I think that if there's a Quest 3 that drops that's going to be using some technology from the Steam Deck, then yes, I think the price is going to jump up because the native price right now for the Quest 2 is $300. If with the Steam Deck being, I think, starting at 400 and going up in price from there, I think that's probably what's going to happen. Is probably the next set is probably going to be 400 to 500 if it's going to be a standalone product. I would assume that. Now I don't know. I don't develop games. I don't do that. This is just an educated guess.
So, is there any hardware that comes with it other than the mask and the nunchucks? Like, is there any sort of a thing?
Nope.
No,
that's
interesting.
Yeah.
Because with the PSVR, there's like a little, you plug it into your PlayStation, but then there's like a little box that also comes with it. That's like part of the computing power comes from that. So I was just curious if there was anything like that to it. Cool. Yeah. I at some point I do want to try Oculus. Because I do really like VR. The main thing I don't like about PSVR is it's wired. So you always feel like you're being pulled down to some other thing because you technically are. But obviously that's not the case with Oculus. I've been playing It Takes Two, Kamen. You'll be very excited to learn.
Tell me all about it.
So, whoops, did I do that? On what day was it? It might have been Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, perhaps. Rose and I sat down on the old couch in our sweats and our jammies and booted up It Takes Two. And at this point, I would say we're probably 2 or 3 hours in. We just to kind of say where we are without spoiling anything, we just we just fought the boss in the with the nails and the
Okay.
that one. So how far in would you say we are? Like not very, or actually no, we're climbing up a tree right now. What does that tell
Climbing
you?
up a tree. Okay, so I would probably say you are about a little over halfways, maybe
Oh, okay,
three quarters way. The game is probably 4 to 6 hours long, depending on how
cool.
fast you play through it. So,
Okay. I adore it so far. It is so fun.
mhm,
It's one of the most uh like creative games I've played in a long time. The I feel like sometimes with video games there's this thing where like you have an objective,
mhm,
but your objective doesn't feel like it means anything. And that it takes two, it always feels like the objective means something because ultimately like you're trying to get out of this like other form of your body and you're trying to at the same time mend your relationship with your wife or your husband, which depending on which character you're playing as. But yeah, I just like the stakes are super high and I love that.
mhm,
uh I feel like sometimes games are missing stakes. Always got to raise
sure.
those stakes, raise them up. But you know, I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm excited to play more of it. um and I think it's been so long since I've played just like a split screen co-op game that it's been really nice to have that experience again. But I so far I don't know that I would say it'll be in my short list for game of the year.
Sure.
Um, but I really enjoy it. And like the only reason I would say it's not in my short list for game of the year is because there has been several games that I've just really, really, really loved this year.
Mhm.
But I'm only halfway through, so
Now, I
that
guess
could easily change. Go ahead.
my question for you is, how is Rose liking the game?
She's liking it a lot. It's a very funny game.
Mhm,
We were both laughing a lot. She a few times she said to me like, "This is really fun." So, because yeah, she does play a lot of video games. I mean, I guarantee you she's playing Stardew Valley right now. But she doesn't play many, if any, platformers and like
mhm,
these kind of, especially we don't play many co-op games together. Once upon a time, we would play like Little Big Planet together, but
sure.
the floatiness of those games,
Mhm,
she and I really didn't like. And so this one definitely is much more her speed, and she's been having a good time with it. But yeah, I'm excited to finish it, and I just can't wait for what they do next, what Joseph
yeah,
Ferris and the team does next, because they're so creative, they're making a type of game that no one else is making right now, and I hope that their success at like the Game Awards inspires other developers to start making more games like that, because there's just such a lack of couch co-op games these days that,
mhm.
and especially story driven couch co-op games,
Yeah, no.
those definitely are a dime a dozen.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that's why like the game, especially this year, is really important.
Yeah.
Is because I mean it's a great way to connect with people, whether it's in person or online. Um, and like you said, it's a really funny, it's really heartwarming. And it was just, I mean, let's be honest, 2021 has been it's been a year. It's
Hmm.
20 rolling out of 2020 into 2021 and now 2021 finishing up. I think the past 2 years have been tough to say the least. And so
Yeah.
having a game that comes in being like, hey, we're gonna tell a story that's it is tough because there are some
Yeah.
moments in it that are, that move you emotionally. But ultimately it's a very heartwarming, it's a very lighthearted
Hmm.
experience, and it's something that you can enjoy with someone else in a way that's like, we can do this either together or apart.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and still in quarantine phase with Omicron ravaging the United States and the
Hmm.
world for that matter. I think it's a good way to connect people again.
Do you remember at the end of 2020 when we were all like, man, can't wait for this year to be over, only up from here? And then cynically a few of us were like, no, this not only up from here, and in fact it was more down from here. But yes, I agree, the games like It Takes Two makes dealing with all the bullshit in the world just a little easier. um well, with that, Cayman, I think it's the time we've all been waiting for since we started this podcast. It's time for the first annual, the inaugural, if you will, the Golden Beefies, an awards show in which there is no pomp and circumstance, but there will be awards that you've never seen given out before, and you may never see given out again. I think the way that we should do this, we've broken this up into a few sections: shows, movies, games, and then books and comics as one thing. So and then, we might come up with new ones on the fly because that's just the kind of show this is. So we'll go one category at a time and give out the awards in which we have attributed for this, the year of Shuhei Yoshida 2021.
Praise be.
Kamen, praise be. Start us off with your first Golden Beefy in the category of TV shows.
All right. So my first Golden Beefy goes to the category of best show to make you hate religion. And the winner of that category is Netflix's own Midnight Mass.
I tell you what, as someone who was raised Catholic, that show really nailed what Catholicism is all about.
I didn't grow up Catholic. I grew up Southern Baptist. Yeah. And even growing up Southern Baptist, that show nails just how religion can take this form of being not so great.
Yeah.
And it really hammers that home.
It sure does. Quite often. I am interested because I have the privilege of having the doc in front of me, so I know other awards that you've given. I'm interested in talking about this show more because I have some really strong opinions about this show that I think very much don't align with your opinions of this show. But so I'm excited to have that discussion. But I'm not giving the award for best show to make you hate religion, but I agree that this is a great example of that award and what it can be. The first award I would like to give, Kamen, is the best anxiety-inducing show, and that I would like to give to HBO's Succession. I think there are a few. Yeah, I think there are a few shows on the market right now that will make you feel worse by the time you finish watching it, but like you want it to happen. Like all you want to do is to feel worse because that means you've gotten more story and you've seen what this Roy clan, the Roy family has done to itself. But it's just always so stressy. It's so much anxiety with this show. But that's the first Golden Beefy that I would like to give. So congratulations to Succession.
My next award goes to the most overrated show. And this is going to be a hot button topic.
This is going to be a hot button topic.
A lot of people. The winner for the most overrated show goes to Squid Game.
Make your case.
I understand where people come from. They say, "Oh, Squid Game, it's so much fun. It's got so much subtlety, and it's all like, oh, anti-capitalism and all these different things." And and my thing is why I think it's overrated is not because I think the show is bad by any means. I don't. Okay. But I feel like there's been things that have come before it that have done it better that people just completely forget about. The main one being the film, or I guess technically it was a book series or a book beforehand, Battle Royale, which came out in Japan in the early 2000s. Battle Royale, actually, there's a lot of people say that Hunger Games ripped off Battle Royale, which I don't disagree with at all. All of them deal with the same topic of capitalism and basically screwing the lower class and in how we go about it. Squid Game, it does it well, sure, but Battle Royale does it just so much better. Sure. And then you got all the people, and then it's turned into this mass phenomenon where Mr. Beast is throwing his own Squid Games, completely missing the point.
Yeah,
you can go buy Halloween costumes for Squid Game.
Funko
I'm
Pops.
assuming that at some point this is going to be like a Five Nights at Freddy's situation where they're going to start selling kids' clothes. I'm sorry, I don't think it's deserving of any of that. I think it's a fine show. I think that I'm glad that people enjoyed it, but I can tell you right now, there are better shows or there's better books, movies, comics, everything that deal with that exact same sort of topic about having poor people fighting to the death over a lump sum of cash.
Sure.
We see this in day-to-day life right now, where we have game
Sure.
shows where we do the same shit. I'm sorry, but Squid Game, you're taking home a golden beefy for that one.
I don't disagree with some of what you said. I really enjoyed the show. I think it was incredibly sad. And I've not seen Battle Royale. I am familiar with Battle Royale. I feel like Battle Royale is a pretty celebrated thing though. But yeah, it definitely there are like it's like Hunger Games, which is like Battle Royale. I think what I really like about this show, and again, I can't compare it to Battle Royale since I've not seen it. I thought the acting in the show was particularly very, very good.
Sure.
The main like 3 or 4 people in it, I was just blown away by them, and like there were definitely some plot holes and things like that, but the world building I really enjoyed. The mystery, obviously, I really enjoyed. But I do think it is absurd that there are Funko Pops, Halloween costumes, like everything in between. I think not because I don't think it's good enough for those things. I just think it completely misses the point for sure.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's if there's a buck to be made, someone will want to make the buck. I actually a week and a half ago, I was in a store in Decatur. It's like a locally owned shop where you can get all sorts of things like puzzles and socks and like one of those just like catch-all Christmas
Sure.
shop type stores. And there was Squid Game themed colored pencils. And I was like, come on, guys, this is silly. And like next to it was like Zodiac themed pencils, which like also, in my opinion, silly, but there's an audience for that. And it's just funny to me that there is apparently an audience for Squid Game themed colored pencils. But anyway.
I hate everything.
uh,
What's your
speaking
next?
of speaking of the rich, the poor, and money and all of those things, the second golden beefy that I would like to give is the best show to make you both hate the rich but also wish you were rich, and that's Succession. There so often when I'm watching this show, and there might be a theme developing here. So often when I watch this show, I feel great. It's been a great Sunday. My fantasy football team has probably been beaten to a pulp, but I accepted it weeks ago, although I am in the finals in one of my leagues. But I go into Sunday night content with life. I watch this show. I become incredibly anxious because of the things that happen on it. And then I have this disdain for the rich, but while
Mhm.
simultaneously wanting to be rich because they have these
Sure.
private jets and helicopters and Rolexes. And the show does a lot of things to me, Kamen, but best show to make me both hate the rich and wish I was rich. Succession gets a golden beefy. Kamen, what's your next?
My best show, Golden Beefy Award, which would be the best show of 2021, is
Mm,
the aforementioned Midnight Mass. I know Patrick has some thoughts on that. Look, I'm a horror guy. I
yep,
love
you
horror
sure are.
TV shows, horror books, horror movies. Hate horror games because I'm a little big old baby boy. Um,
Goo goo gaga.
but I think Midnight Mass, one, the acting in the show is bar none some of the best acting we've seen in a while in a TV show. And sure, you can say Secession, that's fine. It's great acting in that show. But Midnight Mass, I think they really hone that in. But they make every character, they define them so well. You know, there's no black and white. It's only gray. You can see people's motivations, and that's not something you often see done well in the horror genre.
Okay.
Horror, a lot of times, you can't be too scary because you're going to eliminate a lot of your audience. You can't be too campy because you're going to eliminate part of your audience. So it's like a balancing act on what you can and can't do. With Midnight Mass, I think that they nailed the scares, they nailed the themes, the subtleties, the plot lines. They nail all of the little things. They give you a definitive start and a definitive end. This is
They
not
do.
a show. This is not a show that they're going to say we're going to do a spinoff of. This is a one and done. It is a miniseries that is just for now. And I feel like even more so with the pandemic and with all of these conflicting theories, conspiracy theories, all these things going on,
Yeah.
this show kind of nails that down where it's like, people are trying to survive one way or the other. We're all trying to do our best, regardless of whether or not we're doing it the right way or the wrong way. It depends on what side you look at it from. That the show handles all of that. It's gut wrenching. The ending is poetic and it's beautiful. Brought me to tears by the last episode because it's just so profound. And if for people who are like diehard Stephen King fans, this is the closest you'll probably ever get to seeing a Stephen King miniseries that's not made by Stephen King. But it feels, Mike Flanagan absolutely fucking knocks out of the park. It feels fantastic. It looks fantastic. And it plays to those sensibilities to a point that I don't think we've seen that before. And I don't know when we'll see anything like this again.
So thank you for sharing, Kamen. I'm thrilled to hear that you love that show. I try my best to, on the internet specifically, not speak negatively to art. I try, because like, look, if I'm of the creative team that spent probably years making this thing, I don't want to come across a tweet or a video of someone tearing that thing down. That's how I feel. I truly hated Midnight Mass. Like I wanted to like it so badly because I saw so many people on Twitter talking about how great it was. And I'm shocked that this is the first time we have ever talked about this. I am genuinely shocked by this. So I wanted to like it so bad because the hype was so there. And I remember I was watching with Rose and Devin, who Devin, I'm sure you're listening to this. She's not. We were so excited to watch the show. Also, because I didn't watch Bly Manor, but I watched The Haunting of Hill House, which I liked. And I just felt like a show that was 8 or 9 episodes, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range, could have been like 3 episodes. I felt like it was just so drawn out, and something that I like with the writing specifically, I don't hold this against them, because I think a lot of the way that they told their story was changed because of COVID. And what I mean by that is the amount of monologues in this show is insane for television and film, which is not everyone's cup of tea. Typically, I love a good monologue, but by the end of it, I was just so tired of them. But all of that being said, I thought the main character, the priest, was great. I thought he did an incredible job. And I thought the twist, which I won't spoil, was like the concept of the show, I think is awesome. And I think it's such an interesting concept. I just didn't like the way they told the story, unfortunately. But I'm glad that you like it. And I hope that Mr. Flanagan goes on to make many more things. And hopefully the next one will be my cup, because this one, unfortunately, was not.
Well,
but hey, but yeah, it's genuinely funny to me that we have never talked about Midnight Mass.
Okay, I'm dreading your next beefy. So just get it over with.
My next beefy, I'm gonna save my third one for last. I'm gonna say the best show. This is the next one I'm doing. The best show that Kamen refuses to accept as great, I'm giving to HBO's Succession. Again, the theme here is very clear at this point. The Golden Beefies are being swept by Succession in terms of the one that Patrick's giving.
Why don't you just go ahead and get your number? Your
all right. My number 4 Golden Beefy, best show of 2021, HBO's Succession. There are other awards I could have given. There, at one point, I had an award for Squid Game. At one point, I had an award for another show. But when you've achieved something like Succession has, for such a prestigious award show like the Golden Beefies came in, it needs its due. It needs to get what it's so worked for so hardly. Do you understand, Kamen?
I'm listening.
You're listening. You don't understand, but you're listening. Succession, for those of you who don't watch it, it's essentially King Lear as a television show. For those of you who don't know what that means because you didn't read it, because actually I've not read the whole play because I found the play quite boring. It's a Shakespearean play. Essentially, Logan Roy, played by Brian Cox, is essentially the role of King Lear. In charge, like he's the patriarch of this incredibly successful, powerful, wealthy family who, in the world of the show, essentially runs like what is Fox News. It's a right leaning news conglomerate, but they have their hands in all sorts of other pots, like theme parks and basically, if it can make money, they are a part of it in some way. But essentially, the story that it tells is the story of the Roy family. So Logan and his children, and it's political, but it's not like a politics show. It's just like the politics of the family and who is going to succeed the father and take over the firm. And it's just, I could try to explain it for days and still not do as good of a job in explaining it as the show does in just existing. But the performances are great. The writing's great. The arcs of the characters, incredible. They're all objectively awful people, but it's so compelling. It's compelling, Kamen.
I have to say that I feel like fans of Succession are also objectively awful.
Wow. Me. So you're saying me, Kamen. I'm objectively awful in your eyes.
Yeah, look here. I'm highly medicated right now. And so my brain's working at like 1/10 normal speed. So I'm sorry if this doesn't make sense, but yes, you are awful, Patrick.
Wow. All right. Well, I'll remember that.
Look, I think that my issue with Succession is specifically it's because
you hate white people.
I have horrible anxiety in my own life, my day-to-day life. And watching something that induces this existential dread, not like a dread of like, oh, what's lurking around the corner kind of situation that you would see with horror, but like, oh, everything fucking sucks. And there are people that, if you like the very first episode, obviously this is no spoilers, it's the first episode. There's a scene of the show where they go to play baseball, like in this field. And they like land with this copter, like their helicopter. They all get out. And it's like, there's like a little kid and his family. And they're like, hey, one of the sons, Roman, is like, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you can hit a home run. And the kid ends up getting tagged out at home base, right? And it's like, he just walks up and just shreds the check in front of him. And like, I'm sorry, but there are people in real life that do that kind of shit.
Sure.
And just seeing it on screen like that, you're just like, I hate all of this. Everything about this makes me feel disgusting inside.
Sure.
And I guess, I don't know, man, 2020 and 2021 have kind of ruined me to where like I don't even like watching the news anymore because everything's just on fire, and it's like I don't like that. So Succession it does that for me. And
what if
I'm glad it won an award. So you guys can all fuck off now.
It won several, Kamen. I mean, they're going to be talking about this tomorrow in Newsweek. What if I told you, Kamen, that all of these characters that you hate, bad things happen to them too? Would that get you to watch more of it? To see them suffer?
Okay. Now you're speaking my language.
It's not all. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, they get away with awful shit and they all do terrible shit, but they also, bad things happen to them too. And I'm sure that might give you a little solace at night going to sleep, knowing that Kendall Roy, it's not all rainbows for Kendall.
Good. Moving on to the next segment of the Golden Beefies is the movies category.
Yes.
This might be a move a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Than us belaboring how bad Succession is a television show. My first award goes to the best show or best and only theatrical experience I had this year, which was Spider-Man No Way Home. I really have nothing else to say on that, but I will say it was a hell of a lot better than the last theatrical experience I had, which was Cats.
When you say it was a hell of a lot better than the last theatrical experience you had, Cats, which was right around Christmas 2019, is it the content of the movie that was better? Is it the whole experience of being in the theater that was better? Was the night at the theater better? What about it exactly was better? Because I would be willing to argue the theatrical experience of seeing Cats with the group that we saw was unlike anything that we've ever experienced and will ever experience again.
You are
in a
correct.
positive way. But the movie itself,
Yeah.
absolute objective dog shit.
Yeah, you are correct. I think the reason I say it was the best and only theatrical experience is because it is the only theatrical experience I had in 2021. And so I will say seeing Cats in person with the group that we did was a fantastic experience. And I feel terrible for everyone who missed out on that. You'll never get that moment back in your life. And so that
Surely.
opportunity has passed you by. Um, but seeing Spider-Man, I feel like it's one of those movies where you just have to see it on the big screen. And with it being the first time being back in theaters, that was a really special moment for me.
For sure.
What
Yeah,
about you? What's your first?
My first Golden Beefy is actually the same category, which is the best theatrical experience. I have an official Golden Beefy, and then I have an honorable mention Golden Beefy. So I'm going to start with the honorable mention because it also was during Spider-Man No Way Home. I was watching that movie in a theater, and there's a scene in which someone that I know, his name is Robbie, comes on screen and is an actor in this movie. And I was so shocked. I had no idea that he was in it. If he had posted about it, I hadn't seen it. And I completely, as if I had no control of my own devices, as if I wasn't in a theater with strangers trying to watch a movie, I might argue I shouted. I didn't really shout, but I said loudly, "That's my friend."
Oh,
because I was so shocked that my friend was on screen and he had lines with J.K. Simmons, and which isn't a spoiler because he was in the trailer. And it was just a shocking moment. And then I forgot what happened for the next 5 minutes because I was just thinking about how my friend was just on the screen. But the actual winner of my best theatrical experience of 2021 was seeing a little indie film called Dune.
Okay.
In which
this is a little indie film.
A little indie film, yeah. Not many people have seen it or heard of it.
Very much, no.
Very low budget. At the opening of the movie, I'm seeing it in IMAX with friends of the show, Katie and Elliot. Hello, Katie and Elliot. I love you both very much. And, this is my first theatrical experience in several months at that point. And it's not my first since Cats. I had seen something else before, but it was my first in a while. And the lights go down. We saw the 95 trailers. We saw the little AMC video where you see the inside of popcorn or whatever, the weird montage that they do there to try and make me leave and go buy Coke. And this message comes on a big dark black screen that says, "Dreams are messages from the deep." And all of us are just reading it like you do. Mm-hmm. And there's someone in the very last row of the theater that just goes, And this very much could be a you had to be there moment. But sitting in an empty ass theater about to see this movie that I have very high expectations for. And then the very first thing that happens is this message on the screen and someone just loudly proclaiming, as if the phrase "dreams are messages from the deep" was the most profound thing that they had ever heard in their entire lives. And all three of us immediately burst into laughter. And it took me a while to get that under control because I was just if I had 100 guesses as to what would have happened in that moment, silence is what I would have guessed for 99 of those 100. And I guess this is the one of the 100 that I didn't expect, but it was a great moment. That's Kamen, what's your next Golden Beefy?
My next Golden Beefy is best comeback franchise. And that award goes to Wrong Turn. As everyone knows, well, probably not everyone knows, one of my favorite film franchises of all time is the Wrong Turn series. I think the Wrong Turn series is wildly underrated. They are all trash. They are some of the worst horror films that you could possibly ever see. The first one dates back to 2003, starring none other than Elijah Dushku, and probably some other people that I forgot their names.
Sure.
The series ran for 6 films originally. They progressively get more and more outrageous to a point that it's like just super campy. They just go for like the most outrageous kills and just be so silly, and they're so much fun, like so much fun to watch. This year, 2021, they finally released the long-awaited, I mean, me being the only one who waited long for the reboot, with the standard title of Wrong Turn. So they released a new Wrong Turn film, and shockingly, it's actually a pretty good horror film.
Yeah.
One actually will say one of the best horror films of 2021 was the rebirth of the Wrong Turn series. I have no earthly idea if we'll ever see another Wrong Turn film. I like the idea of them being better, but I also kind of miss out on the fact that they were so much ass, like just so bad. But no, I look, it's so they're so good. And for them to actually make one, I always have this thing, right, where I'm like, I want to see like these trash movies get remade by like
Mm-hmm.
a competent director with competent actors. And like I want to see them remake some movie like that and make it good. And like
Sure.
this was like the only time I think I've ever seen anything like that happen. I mean, I
Well, there you
guess you
go.
could probably say like the new It films. They kind
Yeah.
of did it because let's be honest, the Tim Curry It miniseries from the 90s was real bad.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and so I guess probably not the first time that it's happened, but this one was an exceptional example because someone who is so appreciative of the original films. This was like a breath of fresh air. How about
Nice.
you, Pat? What's your next
My
beef?
next one, my next Golden Beefy is for the coveted award of the best/worst movie to watch on your 30th birthday, which is
Mm,
Tick Tick Boom, which is a movie released on Netflix. The reason I say best/worst, it was a very good film.
mhm,
However, basically the plot of the film is Andrew Garfield plays like a fictionalized version of Jonathan Larson,
mhm.
who wrote Rent, among
Sure,
other
sure.
things.
Yeah. Mhm,
And the very first song of the show is about how he has just turned 30 and has done nothing with his life. And sitting down on my 30th birthday, watching that movie and realizing, because I had no idea what that was about. And I
mhm.
realizing that that's what it was about as a 30-year-old who has done nothing with his life. It was an existential experience to say the least, but highly recommend the film. Very, very, very good. Andrew Garfield's really, really good in it. What's your next one, Cayman?
My next is going to be the best double feature award,
Okay.
and that goes to Life and Death of a Porno Gang, followed by a Serbian film. And I'm not
See,
going to answer any questions.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. We can have our audience fill in the blanks there. Cayman, I'd like for you to go to your next award as well because I copied your award, and
Mhm,
I would
yeah.
like for you to have the opening statements.
Okay. For this award, Patrick and I, we spent a long time, and like I said earlier, I'm highly medicated right now and barely functioning mentally. So I decided to do an award for the best film from 1997,
Mm-hmm.
and the Golden Beefy goes to Good Burger.
Mm. Welcome to
Mm.
Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Some of the films in 1997, Titanic,
Uh-huh.
L.A. Confidential.
Uh-huh.
Um, those films don't have orange soda in them,
You're right.
and so there
Yeah,
is a movie that does.
objectively, they don't have orange soda. And
I would also be remiss to point out that the winner of the Academy Award for Best Picture of 1997 was The English Patient, which also did not
mm,
have orange soda. It also did not have Keenan Thompson
correct.
or Kel
Or Kel.
or any burgers for that matter.
I've heard some people in the corners of the internet refer to Ray Fiennes as a tall glass of orange soda. I wouldn't refer to him as that myself, but those folks in the corners of the internet might have a bone to pick with your statement about the English
I would
Patient not having any orange soda in it.
I would say that the other side of the internet likes to think of Ralph Fiennes as a warm glass of milk.
Sure.
Just puts you
Little
right to sleep. You know what doesn't
nice.
put you right to sleep, Patrick? Good burger.
or or
Or
the
or
1997 film Dante's Peak, which is the winner of my best movie from 1997 Golden Beefy Award, starring one Pierce Brosnan, a personal friend of mine. And
mhm,
by that, I mean, I saw him at a restaurant a few weeks ago,
sure, sure.
which means we're personal friends. But that is, in my opinion, the clear winner for best movie from 1997. However, Good Burger, I can't argue with history.
That is
Good
true.
Burger is a film that will be remembered long after we're gone.
If you don't mind, I would like to take a moment and quote one Marty Scorsese.
Sure.
He once said, "Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. May I take your order?"
He
To
said that.
which I say, Marty, of course you can.
Of course you can. Scourse you can.
Of course you can.
Uh, Thank you. I mean, that was a. I always forget old Marty said that, but God bless him.
Most do.
Next category is going to be books/comics. Anything you can read, magazines, pamphlets, all of that is fair game in the Golden Beefies. The first Golden Beefy I'm going to be giving to is for best book. I'm giving to nothing because I can't read. I'm illiterate. Kamen, what's the first Golden Beefy you're going to give to?
My best Golden Beefy award. God, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm just falling off the rails today. The first Golden Beefy for books would be the best book I read this year, which was Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven. Fantastic Land is a somewhat of a psychological horror book. It's very interesting. It is written as a fictional account of a hurricane that hits Florida and leaves, I think it's like 50 or 60 teenagers trapped inside of a rip-off Disneyland called Fantastic Land. It's kind of like more so like a Six Flags in Florida.
Okay.
It's like one of the janky amusement parks that you would go to if you didn't have the money to go to Disneyland, which I would be the ones that I attended as a child.
Sure.
And essentially, what happens is they get stranded for for a few weeks inside of this amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
The kids break up into factions. It turns into almost a Lord of the Flies style book, but it's all written through accounts of newspaper articles, interviews, post interviews with the children from the park who were trapped there, workers, EMS, police officers. So it's non-linear. It doesn't follow a sort of guide. It does, however, build up an intense like stress as you continue through the book because things start to get more and more crazy. People start dying in fantastic, no pun intended, ways. It is a very interesting read. If you are a fan of horror, or if you just are looking for a book that's one of those where it's only 350 pages and you can burn through in a couple
Yeah.
sittings, this is a great option for you. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, that would be my beefy award goes there. What's your beefy award next up?
The last award that I will be giving in this category is for the best comic that I read in
Okay.
2021, which I'm actually not done reading it. I'm in the middle of Compendium 3 right now, but
Okay.
the comic Invincible. So I've read, 4/5 of it at this point, 3/5 at this point, something like that. I guess 2.5 thirds technically. But it's really, really good. If you've not watched the show, and you don't love reading comics, I would recommend watching the show. It's on Amazon. It's a 8-episode animated show starring a whole bunch of big names like Stephen Yeun, J.K. Simmons, Britta from Community, whose name escapes me in this exact moment. John Hamm is in the first episode. We got people for days in the show, but the comic is also really, really good. Essentially, the premise is it's you follow the story of a young boy named Mark Grayson. He's a teenager in high school, and he starts developing superpowers. And his dad is basically the Superman of that world. So it might sound a little vanilla when you listen to the description, but I promise you there is a twist that happens very soon that makes it all but vanilla. So give it a watch, give it a read. Highly, highly recommend it. Do you have any more Golden Beefies in the books and comics category?
My
Bring us home.
My last Golden Beefy is going to be for best comic that I read this year as well. For me, it's actually a split. It is a tie between Saga and the exceptionally written and designed Sex Criminals, which a lot of people know about.
Great choices.
Yeah,
Highly.
a lot of people know about Saga. That's a really big series. I don't want to get too much in the weeds on that one. Just know that if you like sci-fi, you like space adventures, Saga is incredible. However, I do want to talk a little bit about, because I feel like it's topical right now, about Sex Criminals. Sex Criminals is a book about two people who find out that if they have sex, they can stop time um, upon completion. And so what they end up doing is start to rob banks. Um, it's a very funny book. It is very
Yeah,
weird.
it's
The
great.
art is incredible. It's very mature, so just be aware of that. But I want to point out the big thing here is that the book was written by Matt Fraction. Why that name should sound familiar is Matt Fraction is the basically the person who created the Hawkeye Renaissance with his Hawkeye
Oh,
series for Marvel, which that Hawkeye series inspired the new Hawkeye TV show.
is
So
that
if
why it's
you,
topical? Is that the
it
topical
is
connection?
that is
Got
the
it.
topical
Okay.
connection. So if you are a fan of the Hawkeye series and you are
Wow.
okay with gratuitous nudity, sex jokes, and innuendos, then I highly recommend Sex Criminals. They just finished. So they have finished off their series. You can actually buy them now as one complete set. Um,
Nice.
if you haven't read it, I really, really recommend
I
it.
need to go
It's
finish it.
so fucking good.
I was reading it before it ended, and then I just stopped because there was no more that came out,
Mhm.
and then now it's finished. So I need to go back and finish that. Yeah, highly
Yeah.
recommend Sex Criminals Saga. If a really quick pitch for that is, it's the story of Romeo and Juliet set in the world of Star Wars. It's not actually Star Wars, but like it's set in a world like Star Wars, told in a story style of Game of Thrones, like
Yeah.
very complex political species interspecies story. Yeah, to the plot. It's essentially the plot of Romeo and Juliet, but it's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And it's coming back finally. They took a hiatus for
Several years.
several
Yeah.
months, or yeah, years, and then it's coming back in 2022.
Oh, nice.
So very excited about that. Yeah, writer Brian K. Vaughan, he's done his breadth of work is remarkable in comics. So can't miss there. Nice. So let's bring us home with the final category of the Golden Beefies, which is, you might expect, the games category. I'll start us off with the first Golden Beefy I would like to give, which is the best game that I forgot that came out this year, which is Hitman 3. Hitman 3 came out in January, I believe, of
Did it
2021.
really?
Yeah.
Holy
And
shit. This has been the longest year in history.
I know, right? I feel like I played that game 10 years ago.
God.
But really good game. You play as a hitman and you kill people. And each of the levels are their own basically worlds, and you can finish your objectives in 1,000 different ways. But the worlds that they create in that game are so compelling. Like there's one level that's basically a Knives Out type movie. It's a detective thriller essentially, and there's a bunch of different levels like that. And highly recommend it if you've not played it. Kamen, your first Golden Beefy in the games category.
My first Golden Beefy goes to the exact same category. Best game I forgot came out this year, Bravely Default 2. I was a huge Bravely Default fan on the 3DS back several years ago. And this year came out with the sequel, Bravely Default 2, which, if you are a Final Fantasy fan and you have a Nintendo Switch, it is a spiritual successor to well, I guess the Bravely Default series is a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy. Job classes, good old JRPG, fantastic world, feels incredible. The chibi art design works so well. It looks gorgeous on the Nintendo Switch. If you are a fan of JRPGs and want something that's a little bit more like a little bit more old school, it's going to be a lot harder than what you probably are expecting.
Yeah.
And you want something that you can just grind your way through. Bravely Default 2 is a fantastic experience, and one that truly, absolutely, 100% forgot existed until today.
When I saw you put it in the doc, I was like, I was shocked that came out this year.
Yeah.
So next one I'd like to give to, this is a twofer. This is both most disappointing game and best game starring Willem Dafoe goes to 12 minutes. I forget if 12 minutes came out in a time in which we talked about it on the podcast, but
I think we did. I think it was like the first episode.
I think it might have been one of the first episodes, if not the first. It was one of my most anticipated games going into this year because it just looked unlike a game I had played before. The art style was really cool. Had a blockbuster cast of James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. And that game was such a slog. And the performances were good. It just, the premise is You are a man who comes home from work one day and you find yourself caught in a time loop of 12 minutes. And within that time loop, a lot of bad stuff happens and you're trying to stop it from happening. And the biggest criticism I had of the game was because of the nature of the way the game is built, you have to watch and be witness to like brutal shit dozens of times by the time you have finished that game, and there's like not much you can do about it. And by the time credits rolled, I was just like, whew, I am so exhausted by what this game has made me endure. Even if the story was, and also there's this twist that is just like so upsetting and unbelievable, not in a good way, like in a gross way. But anyway, 12 minutes. If you're interested by it, maybe just watch a YouTube playthrough of it or read a synopsis. Kamen, what's your next Golden Beefy?
I'm piggybacking off of you. My next award is most disappointing game. And my decision is, I did not take this lightly, Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
Specifically, I want to talk about the in-game content. I think I've said it before, and you've probably all have heard it before. The actual story of Marvel's Avengers is really fun. The gameplay is engaging. Playing as all the different heroes is really cool, and the inclusion of AIM and all these different heroes that kind of come in and out. You have to play as each of them. It's a lot of fun doing that. And then the game ends, and then they say, "Now here's the in-game content," and they try to play it off like a Destiny 2, and it doesn't work, and it sucks, and it's a miserable experience filled with egregious microtransactions, pissing in the face of the user, and just ultimately is not a fun experience and not one that had legs or longevity. And unfortunately, as much as I enjoyed the story and just rallied around how I feel like people did not give it a chance because of all of the negativity for the back half, I have to include it, and it wins a Golden Beefy for being disappointing.
A damn fine shame. A damn fine shame.
Yeah.
The next Golden Beefy I'd like to give is the best video game to listen to podcasts while playing. A lot of the time, video games is telling a story or there's things that you need to be listening to. But the video game State of Decay 2, which I played for the first time this year on Xbox, I think is an incredible game to play if you have like a bunch of podcasts you need to listen to. Great game for that. Like there's some story, but the story, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, it's like a base building game and you're trying to survive like in an apocalypse with zombies. Really fun game. One of my most played games this year when I discovered it. But I got through a lot of podcasts playing that game, and definitely worth your time if that's something that interests you.
My next award, Golden Beefy, for best game I was months late to play, but count for 2021 because I don't care about the rules. Sackboy's Big Adventure.
Sure.
Technically, it released in, I think, November it was like a launch title for the PlayStation 5. I didn't get around to it until the beginning of 2021. I guess that's this year. Sackboy's Big Adventure is an incredible game. If you have a PlayStation 4, you can play it there. Don't really recommend it as much because the haptic feedback on the PlayStation 5 is fantastic to use, and it utilizes it so well. If you like games like Mario, Little Big Planet, things like that, Sackboy's Big Adventure is going to be right up your alley. It's got an incredible soundtrack, incredible feeling gameplay. Just don't try to get the platinum because the Rip Snorter is an absolute fucking bastard and is going to make you really question whether or not you want to continue to play video games at all.
I really need to go finish that game. I played a few hours of it and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the first games I got on PS5. And so I had bought a few things and I just dabbled for a bit and I just kind of forgot to go back to it. I need to go back to it because I really enjoyed what I played. We should play that game together at some point. My next Golden Beefy is the coveted award of best game I still haven't played, and I've said I'm going to play it next about 6 times this year, which is Yakuza Like a Dragon. Came in, I don't know how many times. I guess it's around 6 is my guess. How many times I've been like, all right, next game I'm playing, Yakuza, can't wait. It's happening, baby.
Yeah. That actually could be the most disappointing game played this year is you telling me that you're going to play a game.
Sure.
Because it's become a game at this point.
It has. And am I doing it at this point just to get a rise out of you?
Probably, because you're a piece of shit.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I like Succession, so we clarified earlier. So, next one for you, Kamen?
Next one for me is best game that Patrick has refused to play, Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Boom. There it is. What more can we say at this point, right?
What more can we say?
Next one for me is best game. I'm going to give to Deathloop.
Okay.
I've spoken about Deathloop so many times at this point, but if you haven't played it, give it a shot. It's not Kamen's cup of tea, but I think it's the best. I think it's the not my favorite, but it's the best video game I played this year.
My best game gets the Golden Beefies is going to be It Takes Two.
Sure.
I beat the drum, beat the horse. I don't need to say anything more.
Yep.
Play the damn game, guys.
Play the ding dong dang game, guys. My penultimate Golden Beefy is for favorite game. It's my favorite gaming experience of the year, and that'll be for The Forgotten City, Kamen. It's on Xbox Game Pass. It's on PlayStation 4 and 5 for like $25 or something like that. It's on PC. I think it's even on Switch. 6 to 8 hour experience. Unforgettable game, even though it has forgotten in the title. Unlike anything that I've ever played at this point. And the story they told was really cool. The way they told it was really cool. Totally. I didn't want to put it down that first day that I played, and then I beat it the second day that I started playing it. Definitely highly recommend it if that floats your boat. Kamen?
My next one will be the same as yours, which is favorite game. However, my choice and winner is different. The Golden Beefy this time goes to Tales of Arise. Tales of Arise is a fantastic JRPG coming out of
on
the
my shelf
studio. And I have to say, you're not going to get 6 or 8 hours. You're going to get 60 plus hours because the game is long as fuck. It's a fantastic experience from start to finish. It was easily probably my favorite platinum this year so far. Every minute was worth it. It's an incredible game. The story's a lot of fun. The gameplay is fantastic. And there's fishing.
I mean, what else does there need to be?
Fishing, guess what? You can fish.
Boom.
There you go. Nailed it.
My final Golden Beefy that I would like to give an award to. It's a little surprising. It's a little unorthodox, you might say.
Okay.
It's the surprise game of the year, Kamen. It's called Wordle. Wordle. And it is a browser-based game that you can play on your phone or your computer. That is a puzzle. It's one puzzle a day. The new puzzle posts at midnight Eastern time. You get 5 guesses to figure out what a word is that has 5 letters in it. And when you guess a word, it'll tell you if of the 5 letters, if any of the letters are in the correct spot, it'll be green. If it's in the word but in the wrong spot, it's yellow. And if it's not in the word at all, it stays the same color. So it's a word puzzle game where you're trying to solve what the word is within 5 guesses. And it is every day I look forward to it. I started doing it like a week ago. So like this is a very new experience for me, but I kept seeing, if you've seen anyone on Twitter post this like block of blocks that's like green, black, and yellow, I kept seeing Janet Garcia from Kind of Funny and MinMax keep posting it. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. And I finally looked it up and I'm obsessed. So if you have a phone, if you have a computer, search Wordle and start playing the Wordle games and let me know if you do, because I'm having a blast. It's my surprise game of the year.
I can't disagree with that. I feel like you closed out the Golden Beefies with a wonderful surprise game of the year, because I too have also started playing Wordle, both myself, and it is a hell of a lot of fun.
It's so much fun, and it's over in 10 minutes or less, and I'm like, I want more.
Fantastic.
Well, with that, we close out the first inaugural, which I guess is redundant, the inaugural Golden Beefies. Let us know what unorthodox awards you would like to give a Golden Beefy to by emailing us, mail@spotlightgames.net, or sending us a DM on Twitter @SpotGamesPod or on Instagram @SpotlightGamesPodcast. You might think, Patrick, you're giving us the social handles, you're giving us the email. Does that mean we're finishing the show? No, we have a little surprise announcement for you.
We do indeed.
We're looking ahead. Go ahead, Kamen.
No, please.
I was going to say, we're looking ahead.
Give us a primer.
Give us a primer. We're looking ahead to 2022, which starts in a few short days. three plus days, three days and an hour. My brain is melting right now. We want to talk about something that we've been cooking up for a little bit, that we're going to be releasing beginning of 2022, but we're announcing today, here, right now. And it is a new podcast. Kamen, tell us about this new podcast that Spotlight Games is launching.
New podcast that we're launching is Save Trash Cinema. This comes this is a huge moment for us. I think as a podcasting group to be able to introduce a new show. We thank all of you for the patronage to allow us to do that. This show is going to be a little bit different than what you hear normally. Save Trash Cinema was born around the thought of me torturing my friends by having them watch some of the worst films to be released ever. Ever? Yes, I would say ever. Films such as The Room, Troll 2, things like that. The movies that personally I don't feel like get enough love, that are incredibly enjoyable for their own rights. These are not good movies. These are trash. But the reason that we chose the name with Save Trash Cinema is very special, is that this is not like a show that you might hear elsewhere where all they do is shit on a film because it's bad. This is a show of appreciation. We're bringing together a group of our friends. Show's going to include myself and Patrick, and we're going to have a revolving third chair with our friends getting to come on and suffering through some of the worst films ever released. But we're going to do it under an appreciation. This is a comedy show. We're going to be having tons of fun. There'll be a lot of laughs, a lot of jokes, a lot of inappropriate humor, which I hope you guys have come to learn that you'll get from here. You're going to get that in abundance on the Save Trash Cinema show as well. I can give you a little bit of a teaser.
Tease us.
I might have mentioned just previously what the movie that we're going to be watching for the first episode of the show already. So I'll let you guess what that is. So the show's going to be releasing early next year. We'll have more details on the next episode. We're still finalizing who the guest is going to be for the first episode. Once we get that through, then we'll have that up and ready. Keep your eyes on our socials as we start to talk more about the show, because we're going to have a lot of news to announce. If you have any suggestions on what movies you think we should watch, or if you even want to be part of the show and you want to join in as our third chair, we would love to have you guys on. Like I said, this is an incredible experience. This is something that I've been wanting to work on for a very long time. Patrick has as well. And we are so excited that is something that we're going to get to bring to you guys for 2022.
What we haven't decided yet is if it's going to have its own podcast feed, or if we're going to do like a Spotlight Games Presents Save Trash Cinema. So keep an eye out for that. If we want you to come to a new podcast feed, or maybe you'll just see the first episode drop in your podcast feed, which I hope you're subscribed to. But yeah, if you want to be on the show, if you want to have us watch a specific movie, let us know. Well, with that, I think, Kamen, it is time for us to bid adieu to our loving listeners and viewers, for those of you who are subbed on YouTube. And if you're not, you should. I would like to say thank you, both to you, Kamen, and to our audience, for being here with us every week. This has obviously been a labor of love, a flavor of love, you might say. We really enjoy making it, and we hope you enjoy listening to it and watching it. So go forth, conquer, spread the word of our sweet little show. Follow us on Instagram at Spot Games Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Spot Games Pod. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Patrick Schwag. You can follow Kamen personally on Twitter at Kid Kamen. You can be on the show, mail at spotlightgames.net. And please keep your ears and your eyes posted, listening, learning for 2022 for the Save Trash Cinema podcast. We love you. We thank you. We wish you a sweet, sweet evening, morning, and afternoon.
Enjoy your final days of 2021. Get your New Year's resolutions in place. Take a moment to appreciate the good things that happened to you this year. Take a moment to curse the terrible things that happened to you this year. And then go into 2022 with a fresh face and a new outlook. Or don't. I don't give a fuck what you do.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck.
We don't care. I don't give a shit.
Boom. Well,
Boom. Did it. We nailed that fucking show,
yep,
Patrick. We
yep.
fucking nailed it, bro.
Get fucked, y'all.